So this expert of the law who was testing Jesus' love God, love people philosophy says in verse 29 that he wanted to justify himself. So he asked Jesus, and who, pray tell, is my neighbor? In other words, who am I supposed to love? Or what he might really be saying is, who don't I have to love? See, Jesus, he sees the angle, he sees the test, he sees the trap. And like the expert storyteller that he is, he replies with one of his best. His parable of the Good Samaritan, where the first thing we learn is that Jesus agrees, in a sense, with what's in the heart of this expert. And he agrees with how you and I actually feel way down deep sometimes. That loving people is a big challenge. Because genuinely loving people can be a big risk, a big mess, a big cost. Starting in verse 30 as he's telling his story. In reply, Jesus told this story. There was a good Jewish man going down from Jerusalem to Jericho. Maybe he had been praising God in the temple. Now he's just heading back home by way of this dangerous 17-mile stretch of road through the mountains, when he's attacked by robbers that were hiding along the way. They stripped him of his clothes. They beat him to a pulp. Can you imagine a mess of blood everywhere? And then they just went away, leaving him half dead, leaving him for dead. Is he going to die? The suspense, right? Well, maybe not, because here comes somebody coming down the road. And oh, such good luck, right? Oh, it's a good Jewish priest who happened to be going down the same road, right? Probably coming from the temple too. Maybe he was even the priest who offered the sacrifice at the temple that day. I don't know. Surely a Jewish priest will help a good Jewish man in distress. When the priest saw the man beaten and bloodied and left for dead, he probably remembered something, that his holy religious calling prohibited him from coming in contact with blood or touching a dead body. And so he passed by on the other side. And this is a narrow road in the mountainous territories, so it's not easy to pass on by on the other side. It's like tiptoe around, and so tiptoe he does. Man, what a heel. But don't fear, messed up Jewish guy. Stay with us. Someone else is coming down the road. Yeah, what luck. Look, right next, there in verse 32, a good Jewish Levite who works in the temple. They're workers in the temple. He's heading home himself. Surely a good blue-collar religious Levite going to help a brother out. But when he came to the place, it says, and saw his fellow Jew beaten and bloodied and left for dead, maybe he's thinking, I just clocked out, bro. I need to get home. Too much drama here to get involved with. Maybe he's thinking, besides, if they beat you up, they may still be around for me. I got to watch my own back. Whatever he's thinking, wouldn't you know it, he too passed by on the other side of his Jewish brother, beaten, bloodied, and half dead in his path. Loving people, really loving people, all kinds of people, can be a big challenge, a big risk, a big mess, a big cost, a big inconvenience. Stop for the stranded along the road. Open your life, your home for the widow, the orphan, the study, for the student. Encourage the discouraged. I mean, that's just too much drama for me right now. I better just not to get involved. Look, don't lie to yourself. It is a big challenge to really love people. But Jesus calls us to a big love. He wants to flip our world upside down. He wants us to see what it looks like to love big. And he's going to show this kind of big love through an unlikely character. See, by normal Jewish storytelling structure, the third person in this story coming along the road should now be an ordinary Jewish man. He'll be our hero, just the regular Jewish guy. He'll save the day, but it's not. Check out the first words of verse 33. But a Samaritan. As he traveled, he came to where the man was. Oh no, Jesus didn't. Samaria was the old capital of the old kingdom of Israel, who had split off from the kingdom of Judah and David's line of kings. They had long fought civil war with the Jews, their own brothers. They were enemies in the same country, like Union and Confederate, Hatfields and McCoys. They hated each other. Jews sure didn't like Samaritans. They had been the first to wander away from God, worship other gods, dive into depravity as a nation, and the first to go into captivity. But without a solid God and a solid faith, they intermarried and kind of just disappeared into the melting pot of humanity, only to emerge over time in small pockets with a weird mishmash of beliefs that they just kind of stole from different religions. Jews saw them as unfaithful half-breeds who got what they deserved. And Samaritans saw Jews as uppity, self-righteous snobs. They despised each other, even though they were from the same line of people. So this Samaritan coming along the road, in every sense, he is the least likely person to help this Jewish guy beaten, bloodied, and half dead in the middle of his path. But it is precisely this Samaritan that Jesus uses in this story to show us how to love and how to love big. Do you see it? First thing we get to see about a big Jesus-sized love for people is that it's a love that sees the person. It's a self-giving love that sees the person in every person. A person that is created, treasured, loved, and pursued by God. It says, but a Samaritan, there in verse 33, as he traveled, he came to where the man was. And when he saw him, he took pity on him. Pity is actually it's this same splachna word, right? From the guts, the innards, from the deepest and strongest emotions inside of him, right? It's the same root word that we have for compassion. This Samaritan had a deep compassion for this man, took pity on this person in his path. See, this Samaritan did not see that Jew as an enemy, as a mess, as an inconvenience, as a drama waiting to happen, or he got what he deserved. No, he simply saw a person in his path who was hurting. A person who would probably like to be treated the way that he would like to be treated. He's thinking, if I was beat up and left for dead, I would want somebody to help me, no matter who they are or who they aren't, where they come from, doesn't matter. That's exactly the kind of big love that Jesus had been teaching all along. It's there in Matthew 7:12, when he said, man, in everything, every situation, do to others what you would have them do to you. This is the kind of love. This kind of love sums up all the commands throughout the laws and the prophets. The Samaritan man saw a man who he was supposed to hate, but he loved him instead. Because despite the differences, he saw this man as a person like him. Maybe this will help it stick in your brain. You got to look through the hues to the human. See, all kinds of people are in your path. And to love people with a big Jesus-sized love, you've got to see past the hues of race and religion, opinion, politic, lifestyle, morality, to see the human they are. The human created and loved by God, who Jesus died on that cross for. And that is everybody in your path. So no matter how big a challenge it is to love people, loving people is a big deal to God. John says it point blank in 1 John 4:20-21. He says, whoever claims to love God yet hates his real live brother or sister, he's a liar. Whoever does not love their real live brother or sister whom they have seen cannot love God whom they have not seen. God has given us this command. Anyone who loves God must also love their real live brother and sister. Do you have a brother or sister in creation or in Christ who's a big challenge to love right now? Is there a group, a class, a category of people you find difficult to love? Who's in your path right now that your inner voice is telling you, keep walking, avoid the risk, stay out of the mess, cut and run? I get it, but resist that voice and adjust your eyes to a bigger love, a love that sees the person.